Welcome to our Zoho User Session. We've been doing this over 5 years in a row. Every month we have uh, content we just share with users. We have these open sessions for people, exactly for anyone using Zoho or trying to use it or thinking of using it. Ask any questions about the software. We are not a tech developer company or an IT systems developer. We're a marketing firm. And as a marketing firm, Gravity Marketing came across so many different types of CRMs, ERPs, different systems to manage and boost marketing and sales. And we kept seeing Zoho winning versus all the other ones: Salesforce, HubSpot, Goldmine, oh my, Act. I lost count how many CRMs we've gone through. Excel sheets, Outlook. So it's from that experience that we decided to launch these sessions, because we saw, well, Zoho is winning. It has an awesome set of functionalities, automation, and price that quite a beats a lot of these competitors. So we've seen it as perfect for small to medium businesses in terms of it has, I would say, 90% more tools than normal user would even need. In terms of just sessions, so myself and Andrew from Gravity Marketing, we're going to be hosting the session. Feel free to ask any questions. We allowed people just to talk in these sessions because that's the whole point, to ask your questions. So you can unmute yourself and ask any question you want, or you can also type your question on the Q&A section that's on the left side of your screen. So I was going to go straight into kind of our agenda, and most of the time is really spent on Zoho. So I want to go through a little bit of how to use Zoho CRM, because and thank you for that, everyone who signed up, kind of shared some questions of things they wanted answered. So I'll go through that, how to manage sales pipeline activity, and a little bit on sales automation, just to give you a feel of what you can do with Zoho. So let's go straight in. So one thing we've noticed is, client after client, project after project, is that people have their sales contacts, businesses have their sales contacts all over the place. Emails, Excel files, sorts of CRMs or ERPs, quoting systems, building systems. The idea when you have a CRM you're using is really to be able to bring all that into one place. So the way Zoho works is it has a lot of functionality, but it also has a lot of customization possible. So you can actually reduce all that functionality to focus your team and your organization on what's key for you. So to give you an example, minimum elements I will suggest is for you to work with leads, where you're managing everything that is a contact coming through the website. So website driven, trade show, online event or offline event, sales prospecting, whether you have an internal or an external team, anything that is marketing related activity, anything that someone who is reaching out for the first time should be coming into a lead. Downloading ebooks, you name it. Then the two other sections is really about companies and contacts, which are the individuals who work on those companies. And then opportunities is when every sales activity that could be generating revenue. So they could be called opportunities, projects, RFQs, deals. It really has to be customized to the company. So we're going to work through these, because these are the key modules in the CRM, and a little touch on how to customize these. So this PowerPoint has a few more slides that I'm not going to go through in depth, because you'll receive these, and there's a recording of this session that's going to be shared as well. I prefer to spend the time on the platform, because I think that's usually what's most useful for users. So here's an example of a little customized CRM with some data. This is your home view. In your home view, you have dashboards and tabs and tables that you can bring of key information you want to see, and you can customize this for your users. So if you're a marketing user, if you're a sales user, if you're the CEO, you could be looking at different data. Then the modules I was talking about, so website leads, in this case, the module is called leads, but I've already customized this one to show you that it can be different from what you see when you start a new account. And this is what Zoho has, which is great, that it integrates with a lot of forms. You can use Zapier and even other apps to connect to the web forms, but the CRM itself has its own web forms that you could put on a website, and you could customize them. There's also an app called Zoho Forms that also integrates very seamlessly with the Zoho CRM. And then there's plugins if you're using a WordPress website or the types of websites. So we have clients with all sorts of platforms using this. And that's a very clean way to bring, for example, in this case, we're dealing with RFQs, but you could also be dealing with careers, for example, with just people you're looking to, talent you're looking to attract, and you want to capture all those candidates. That could be used here as well. Companies is about the organizations you work with. So if you're in B2B, you're working with companies and then contacts or individuals inside those companies. If you're straight into B2C, you won't probably need a company element. You could get rid of this module and just focus on your individual target audience. And then in this case, for example, in this company, we called it projects, but you could be calling these leads, RFQs. The main thing is this is everything that it's going to mean. There's some sales activity associated to it, and it's going to generate revenue. So let's go a little bit into each one of these. So these are the modules at the top, and then you have views here on this top left corner, which are really about a filter. It's like a preset filter that allows you to see this with everything you could want. So that means you could use advanced, very advanced filters to select. I only want to see in this view contacts and quotes. I don't want to see, for example, all the career submissions we get. I don't want to see them in my leads because that's someone else in the company who will be working through. And then it allows you in a very seamless way to select what you want to see on that view every time you open. So if you want to see which country it came in or the description, you could be adding that description. You could be changing the order of those columns. You could share it with everyone, just selected users or only for yourself. And when you save it, what this is doing is it's really creating this option in this drop down that you can then also mark as a favorite by just hitting the little star. And all the columns come organized the way you want to see data. So this is super user friendly. When you hit any of these, you enter the lead detail, right? This is where you're now going to have fields you should be customizing or should be using to collect data. So this is an example of a quick short view you want to see at the top, and then you have all the details here. So title, phones, industry, whatever you want to capture. In this case, we want to capture the projects this lead is looking for. So we added a field for each one of these on the form, and they're linked to the CRM. So very easy to connect marketing efforts with sales efforts. Moving from a lead, so I'm going to add one here for me, just a dummy lead. Let's call it Anna, the dummy lead. And we're going to see how this transforms into business. So I'm going to say Anna Yardley. Okay. So when you have a lead with information, you could create it by hand. If you're, for example, you've got a business card and you just want, or you're reaching out to someone, you're doing sales prospecting, or you could be using one of the website leads. So obviously, as a good salesperson, you'll be wanting to check what you can do with this lead. So first thing is, if it's a valid lead, you'll want to easily convert. So when you hit that convert button, it allows you, it checks the CRM. So it's going to check, does that email already exist? If yes, yep, Anna is already here. Is it the same Anna? It is. If not, you don't select it and you will create a new one. And if I select no, this is not Anna, this is a new one. In this case, I set the system to make sure that emails are not duplicated, so it won't let me create another one because there's only one email for a person per person. And then if I think this is a business or there's a request, I create a potential or a project right away. So I give it a date of, I think it's going to take around 2 weeks to qualify. This is qualified. I need to book my needs analysis meeting, and I can convert this. So when I convert, now let's look at the key modules I was talking about earlier. So we dealt with our lead, and now in a very simple way, we're going to work through company contact and opportunities. So it automatically created a company. Company has, organization related information, name, industry, sales rank if you want, if you have, for example, revenue you want to track, address, billing and shipping information, description, all of that. And then the contact it created, let's come to Anna. The contact is an individual, is a person. So obviously there's a unique email attached to it. It could phone, mobile. All these fields should really be customized to your business. The way you do that is, and I'm going to jump here for a bit. On this settings section, you have under customization, modules and fields. This is where you can go through each one of these modules, select your layout, which you should only have one to start with, and customize with, drag and drop and kind of thinking how do you want this data to come in? What are you trying to pick? Is this, for example, industries? They're in, well, add your options 1, 2, 3, 4. So when a user is using the system, you can have a lot more cleaner data than just an open field. So let's go back to our Anna. Actually, now thinking of it, how do I find Anna in the middle of all my CRM? So Zoho CRM has a really cool feature of search. So I can't remember her email, but I know it was Anna. Let's hit enter. It's going to run a search across the whole CRM. So it actually found an Anna as a contact. Looks like there's a project here. So let's go to the contacts. So this is a paid version, enterprise version of Zoho 1 that you're seeing, this demo. So it actually has artificial intelligence telling me that there's the best time to call or to email Anna, which is true because that's when she's going to have a break. And it doesn't know my schedule, but it does know when I'm more prompt to opening emails, being online. So that's a very useful tool for sales as well. And it also has the capability to sending emails at the best time for the recipient. So not for yourself, but actually to trigger that email at the best time of that recipient will open your email. So another cool feature. Tied with this contact, let's go through the projects because this is where the juice is when you're in sales, right? You want to say, how do I organize my prospects and all the work I'm doing in a seamless way? So this is one of them, is to have very clear sales stages. So this is really how you define your pipeline. What are the stages you take from really unknown, almost someone who is a suspect, to actually qualifying them? Do you need to meet? Is there a quote? Is there a contract? Is there an NDA? All of these should be stages. So you clearly know, very easy in a visual way, you know where each project is at or which opportunity is at. And then as any other module, you can customize the information you want to collect at that level. Oh, see, any questions? So in a bit of a summary, I touched customize your module. So always customize the name. So if it's just website leads in there, just call them website leads. If you're dealing with, if your school dealing with students, professors, administrators, those should be the names of your modules. In B2B, usually it's leads, accounts, or organizations, contacts, deals. Those views that I showed as well. So super useful for yourself and for other users if you're helping others to use the CRM. And then the fields as well. So using those pick lists options as I showed just now, choosing the type of fields to match the type of data. So if it's a URL, if it's a LinkedIn profile, you want a URL. If it's a phone number, you want the phone type of field. And then using this, for example, the example you saw on the email is making that a unique field. So you can't have duplicate emails because you don't want to have the same contact twice. You can't have duplicate names of companies probably, depending on the business. So go through those. So let's jump into a bit how do you manage sales activity in pipeline. There's a million ways to do it. This is just a shortcut on how that pipeline is going to show. So when you're using your projects, in this case, or this module, it's a very rich module, again, with the same functionalities of preview. So you could just look at, for example, open potentials. You don't want to look at everything. You can also, usually by default, you might have this list view where you see everything just in a row. Or I particularly like Cabin View just for focus. Okay, I'm working on qualifying a bunch of projects I have here, or I'm actually following up now with quotes I've sent in the past. So let's just follow up with those. So this is really your pipeline, a very cool view of your pipeline. as you go through each one of these, so let's look at one. As you move these through your phase, they are going to obviously move in your pipeline. So when you're looking at a graph with your pipeline, so let's look at some analytics here. All this data is connected in one. So lead source, let's look at project insights. How many projects you've created, where your leads are, where your projects are, sorry, in those different stages. These are the same stages and phases we saw. Revenue you have tied to it, how much in each one, so you can direct your team and you can make it very easy. Obviously this has been customized, so it doesn't all come by default, but there's a lot of stuff that comes by default when you start an account. Last but not least, there's sales activity in this pipeline. So sales activity, it's not just the projects. You could also be looking at tasks, depending on how deep you want to go. So there's an activity module, and you'll also see that there's tasks, meetings, and calls. So activities can be one of each, one of these, a task, a meeting, or a call. So let me show you the best way to use this. So let's use a project here. When you're in a project and you want to work through qualifying, calling, meeting, the best way to do it is come to your left menu here and open activities. Just create, is it a task, a meeting, or a call? Most people are using tasks if they just want a reminder of something. Clients we have that are using, for example, Zoho a bit more integrated, they really want to use that for their calendar as well. So they have meetings and they have calls, or they simply want to be able to have a report to say, okay, my sales team actually had, meetings are usually more meaningful interactions. So there were like 10 meetings this week, there were 30 calls, and there could have been 50 tasks moved. So you could use those as well for that. And as any other tool, you can define your subject. You can set due dates to create your alarms, obviously, and your reminders, set priority levels, assign the owner, so it could be yourself or someone else in your team. You can assign tasks to other people, and then you could set reminders and a bit more of notes if you want to add some things you want to remember. Okay, it automatically ties to it because I did it from the project or opportunity module. It's tying with the correct contact name and project, and it will just show on your open activities. One thing that we are asked a lot of times, I don't know if there are any questions. I'm just checking the Q&A. Feel free to unmute as well, because you're allowed to ask any questions you want and to interrupt, because this is really aimed at being an interactive session. So a lot of our clients and users want to know about automation. This is one of the things that differentiates Zoho from, for example, Salesforce, where you have to pay extra for apps to actually have the automation, or a lot of the features that I've been showing here just through this demo so far. In Zoho, it's included. And that means when you're looking at your fee and you're looking at your features of what's included in Zoho 1 or just in Zoho CRM, look at the different levels, and automation is always going to be there. And then it's more about almost the level of automation or the volume of workflows you can build. So one of the key elements, let's go into the back end, is this section of automation with workflow rules and the email templates. So you start by building, how do you want to reach out to users? So there's different sorts of automation. Automation could be reminders for yourself, and that's setting up tasks, or automations could be emailing applicants, as you're kind of seeing here, to bring people into an application process. It could be for reaching out to prospects. These are examples of emails we built for our clients to help them kind of move those prospects and those suspects further down the line. You kind of start for deciding what do I want to automate. So usually you have a process in place. So let's automate a series of touch points with our prospects. So you build your email template. I'm just going to show you one here as an example. It can be very simple, just text-based, or it could be proper HTML heavier. I personally like use this plain text option. So you don't have HTML. So it passes spams, or it doesn't get to spam easier. Or you could, depending on what you're doing, you could be using one of these templates. So when you're creating an email, then you have what you need to set up your workflow. And obviously the email has functionality to bring in and insert the names, first name, last name, organization name, everything that is a field. And that's what allows you to then go into a workflow and define how a workflow is set up. So I'm going to start one from scratch here so you can see it. So this is what's called an automation. It's tied to the module you're working with. So let's say, for example, this one is for our contacts, and this is going to be a touch point or a demo. So it allows you to set when do you want this to happen. This can be tied to fields you have in the CRM or to a date specific, something that changed. Usually it's when we have an indication of, let's say it's when someone edits this field, specific fields. Let's say that contact type is modified to X. Let's say when someone becomes a prospect, I want this lead nurturing to start going through this campaign. I could still select them, right? I could still create conditions to say I want to make sure that they're not this, that they're not that. So let's say that the condition is when I start this workflow, email 1. And this is where you set the true automation. So this here you're saying what triggers it and what are the conditions for the automation to go at. And then you define, do I want to update a field in the CRM to keep my data clean? Do I want to assign this, for example, prospect to someone? Or do I want to do an email notification? And this is where your email templates would work, where you select them. You can, what I referenced earlier, send this email notification at best time to email. So this allows the system, so it's called Zoho artificial intelligence element, to go in and check based on that end user behavior, allow you to actually send the email. So it's skewed to send that day, but it's going to check the best time to send throughout the day. Okay. And then you can schedule actions. So when you're in a paid version, free version, you have your instant notifications. On the paid version, you have, let's say 2 days later, you want to send another email, and there you go. And you can keep adding these actions. And this is one sneak peek on automation. There's a lot of topics we could be talking about. Well, we've done several sessions just on automation because there's a lot to explore. I would start with playing with email templates, connecting your email and seeing everything in your inbox and outbox. If you're using Google or Outlook, it's can be connected to the CRM, and then start with a simple workflow. I've kind of extended a little bit the time of our session. That's why I was kind of speeding up. We're open, so just reach out to us via email or through the website if you have any questions. We run one each month, one of these sessions. So if you have any other questions that anyone ask now or they just pop up later, feel free. We'll share this with you. And it was awesome to be able to share some insights with you guys again.